2025. He's back. That's right, I'm back. Don't let it scare you. We're going to have a great year. Welcome to video number 2846, the first video of 2025. Before we get into the topics on the board, please know that trading is risky. It's a risky game. The OMNI, with its trading recommendations that it sends out to Omniacs all over the world, actually made $73,894 for the year 2024. That's if all trades were taken and only calculated on one lot, the smallest amount that you can take, $73,894. Those are the platinum recommendations. You can subscribe to them now if you want at livewithoscar.com, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about what we can do in 2025 because that happened already, right? We got to start over. So traders, I spent the last 10 days off completely, right? I didn't look at charts. I didn't look at markets. I didn't know where anything went. I cleared my circuits, which I do every year, so I could start preparing to project to 2025 on the year-end call for S&P. While I didn't bother to look at charts or anything else, I did study because I have no choice. I can't take 10 days off. I'd lose my mind. So I read a lot about what should happen, what could happen, what did happen in the past, and I put some things together. Traders, I have some thoughts. So I've got a few thoughts after doing all this studying for 10 days, and I thought I'd share some of them with you. One of the biggest things I read about all over the papers, all over the books I read through or tried to study, and on the internet, a lot of talk about inflation, so we'll get there. But let's do this. One of the first things I recognized was this. Sodium-ion batteries are going to replace lithium-ion batteries. Do you know what sodium-ion comes from? Sodium chloride, do you know what that is? It's table salt. We have figured out a way, it's been found out already, but now we're perfecting it. We're getting it to the point that EV batteries will be made with table salt, if we get this right. And guess where 98% of the world's table salt is on this planet? Just guess what country it's in. The good old USA, right? So I read that and went, well, that's absolutely positive for the next few years moving forward. What else? Crude oil, shale, will be pumping. And I promise this talk about inflation will subside when shale and crude start pumping. How do we know it's going to pump? Well, it's not like we haven't seen this movie before. We've seen the Donald Trump as president movie before, right? We're going for a re-showing of that movie. We know he likes crude. We know he likes shale. I don't think it matters what Biden's doing right now. He's trying to lock up some of the Atlantic and Pacific drilling rights so that nobody, even the next president, can unlock them. And here's what he's doing. He's using a 50-year-old law. And in that law, it's got the language of how a president, standing president, can protect those drilling rights in the Atlantic and Pacific. You know what it doesn't have? It doesn't have the verbiage in that law of how the next president can undo it. With that, it simply means that Trump would need an act of Congress to undo that nonsense. And I promise you, he's going to get them to agree with a lot of his stuff. You can tell he's a good negotiator. It would make sense for crude to pump. So crude and shale will pump. That will help inflation subside. Well, how does that happen? If you've recognized what I've been showing you in videos for the last year and a half, most of the inflation has been wiped out except for the transportation of our products. I'm talking product inflation, not when you go to the doctor. I can't make him lower his price. Product inflation on the shelves has gotten cheaper and cheaper. The one thing that's in inflation is the price of crude transportation. Once that starts to drop, you'll see inflation subside. What else did I read about and found to be interesting? The Mexican border likely will be closing soon. That means deportations will start, maybe, and that should slow down the amount of fentanyl coming into this country, which should help this country dramatically. So that's the bright spot I see there. We can use more workers. We don't need the fentanyl, so that will help. I also, from the reading I've done and what I've seen in the past, we expect a crypto-friendly environment from this next president, right? Along with the AI revolution and crypto, it's going to lead to many new uses of cryptocurrencies and will likely help spur the digital dollar in the next 4 years. Now, I am not saying it's going to replace our dollar. That stays. but we could use a safe, stable, reliable digital U.S. currency made by the U.S. government in the digital arena. That would help a lot. So I think we're going to see that. Austerity and interest rates will be the wild card, right? Austerity, have you heard about that? Do you know what it is? Austerity is something like this. You have a big business with a budget that's getting out of control. Instead of you and your accountants trying to get that under control, you hire an outside company. They come in as managers and say, this has to be cut, that has to be cut, this spending, we're going to stop spending in these areas. That's the law. Accept it, and this will make your budget get much better. So that's austerity in a layman's term. Well, austerity is going to come from cutting back pilot programs and other programs that they deem waste money for the U.S. government. Austerity will be the wild card. Interest rates are not the wild card. Here's why. Let's look at interest rates first. The hawkish Fed talk will subside. Why? Once again, because interest rates will be put on track to finally move lower again due to crude oil production, which will equalize inflation, which will allow the Fed to lower rates again. Now, if the Fed lowers too much, that would be another problem, because then we'd have no bullets in the gun to get ourselves out of trouble the next time we have some sort of pandemic and or whatever. So we don't want rates to go too low, but the Fed will be able to lower rates once inflation starts to drop, once crude starts to pump. We've seen this already. I'm not guessing, right? We know this. We've seen the movie before. So that will help equalize inflation, should take interest rates down. I don't think that's a wild card. Austerity is a wild card, and here's why. If you look at austerity, it's one of two things. It either gets sold properly, and the company says, you know what, we'll take the pain, it's going to be really worth it in the end, or it doesn't get sold properly. Everybody in the company starts going, I want out of here, you start getting a mutiny, and it does not work because it's too much austerity. So, depending upon how they sell this austerity to us, the U.S. public, and austerity is going to mean maybe cutting back on some welfare, maybe cutting back on this and cutting back on that. If the U.S. public does not like that austerity, the markets may actually pay for that in a year or two from now. If the austerity is sold properly, where they make us realize some spending cuts now will give us fantastic markets in the future, the U.S. will appreciate that, it'll accept it, and the austerity will work. So I think the austerity is the only wild card. Everything else is pointing to a pretty solid 2025. Nothing goes straight up, and we always get some kind of pullback in the first quarter of the year. Not always, but most likely that will come. If we get that, don't worry. I'm already working on my year-end projection. I can't tell you if it's higher or lower yet because I'm still working on it, but I'm working on that year-end projection. So remember what we discussed. Sodium-ion batteries, fantastic. If we could get that going, made out of table salt, or practically, it's a fantastic thing. I promise you, crude is going to pump. Shale is going to pump. We know Trump is friendly towards that. We know that if crude is pumping, it will lower the price of moving every product on this planet. It will lower inflation. So really, it's just austerity. We'll take that one day at a time. And remember, there hasn't been any rules about austerity made yet. They haven't even gotten into office yet, so don't worry tomorrow. This is into 2025. We'll deal with these things as they arise. What about trading tomorrow on Tuesday? That would be Jan 7, 2025. The OMNI is waving us off from trading E-mini S&P, NASDAQ, Russell for at least one day. It waved us off. It said, Oscar, stop. Stand aside. Let this thing do what it's about to do on Tuesday. It does not want me in. I will do what the OMNI says. So, OMNI didn't tell us that it's not going to continue going up. It just told us stop. There's a reason why we want you to stop. Whatever OMNI's reason is, I will pay attention and listen. OTAPA, the OMNI Trading Academy's proprietary moving average. That has my attention regarding E-mini S&P, NASDAQ, Russell 2000, the Dow Jones Transportation Average, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and gold. OTAPMA. You'll see the charts. There's a reason. The charts are starting to call my attention. OMNI's telling me stay away from the indices. Let's see why. Then number 3, baby. OmniCamp is almost fully subscribed. There's only 1 or 2 open seats left. OmniCamp is Jan 29th through Feb 3rd. It's literally the end of this month, the last weekend in January. If you want to get your trading right for 2025, if you have made promises to yourself, I don't call them resolutions because most people fall off that wagon. If you made promises to yourself in 2025 that you're going to be a better trader, this is your moment. It's the first month of the year. Come down to livewithoscar.com, contact me, or simply go to OMNIBootcamp.com. Fill out an OmniCamp application. Time is ticking. I've got to prepare for you. If you want to work with me in my home office for 4 straight days and nights, get in touch with me through OmniBootCamp.com, or if you're brave enough, people don't like phone calls, call me, 702-629-4755. I will speak to you. I will not bite, I promise. Make sure you give me a buzz. All right, traders, so number 3 OmniCamp, it's going to be special. I cannot wait. It's the first camp of the year. I'm going to set you OmniCampers up so you can do well for the whole rest of the year. Congratulations to the OmniCampers that are coming in January. So, I'll show you why we're being waved off, or at least, I don't know why, but I'll show you my reasoning for being waved off of trading E-mini, S&P, NASDAQ, and Russ. I'll show you that the Omni Trading Academy's moving average is definitely an attention grabber right now, and we'll go from there. I'll also show you a gold chart. Traders, I hope this helps. I hope you listen to some of the things that I spoke about. Remember, I've been paying attention very closely for over 43 years now. I have more attention time. I have more logged hours. I pay attention more than anyone you've ever met. There are people on TV. There are people writing articles. There are people that make announcements that could never shine my shoes in the amount of time I put in to paying attention to these markets. These things I discussed with you, we're not guessing. Most of this we've already seen already. We're just reiterating. Make sure you pay attention to what we spoke about and then look in the charts in this video that are going to come at you in just a moment. Lastly is for you to remember to keep your emotions out of trading. How do we do that? Well, before we look at the charts, we're going to do this quick exercise. Remember, say this to yourselves over and over again. It will absolutely help you when you are in a bad position, especially. 1, 2, 3. Stop, soar, in. Emotions are rock and roll, traders. Now let's go look at some charts. Traders, the Dow Jones Transportation Average Daily Bar Chart. If you'll note, since December started, this has been leading the parade to the downside. So what happened watching the markets on Monday? If you ask me, this is a bear flag, this being the pole, and this being the rest of the flag, right? And the bear flags usually end up with a down move. But what happened on Monday is we started to get up. We got outside of the flag for a little while and then came all the way down and settled back in the flag at the low. False breakout of a bear flag. Same chart. And here's what I don't like about it. All of this action's taking place below OTAPMA, the Omni Trading Academy's proprietary. You don't spend a lot of time below it. That's the thing. You know what I mean? You don't spend a lot of time below it. What are we doing building this formation below OTAPMA? So we fell all the way back into that flag and settled right there. That's bad. That's a failure. What else is out there? The Dow Jones Industrial Average Daily Bar inside of a bear flag below OTAPMA. It settled here. That disturbs me. I'd rather see it above. It almost always stays above. We don't get a lot of time below, but we're starting to spend a lot of time below and in the form of a bear flag. Now, the Omni has waved me off from further buying S&P, NASDAQ, or Russell. Likely this is the Omni's reasoning, because watch this. Here's the Russell 2000. The Russell 2000 literally got to the top of that flag where OTAPMA is waiting for it. It hit there on Monday and dropped and settled at the lows. Back into the flag, below OTAPMA, which isn't usual. So I don't like the way that looks. Now we go over and we look at the NASDAQ, and what is it? Above. No problem there, right? But if 3 of them are already below, maybe these guys start to head that way. Maybe the NASDAQ wants to go down there too. Not saying it will. Omni told me just to not trade on Tuesday. But NASDAQ's above and E-mini S&P is above. Look at that. Right? E-mini S&P is up here. OTAPMA's down there. So NASDAQ, S&P above. Everything else is below right now. So only 2 left that are above. That's got me a little worried. And then there's this guy. Look at gold. Now gold, you know, it's been riding along, OTAPMA as well as this trend line. And then stays away from OTAPMA for a while, and once again rides along both, but look at the amount of time it's spending below OTAPMA now. Look at all the bars. And I don't know, I think that's a bear flag too. So you're banging away here. It hit here, it hit here, it hit here, it hit here, and it hit here. Almost hit here, hit here. You're starting to hit this too many times. Maybe too many knocks on this door. Maybe gold will follow that bear flag lower because it's below OTAPMA. In any event, we take this one day at a time, but OTAPMA has my attention. Let's see if it grabs yours.